Fifteen-year-old Tatenda of Bindura in Mashonaland Central Province solemnly narrates her history of sexual abuse at the hands of an 82-year-old uncle. She recounts how her uncle raped her twice, making her pregnant.
Ini ndakakasika kudzoka ndakadzoka 12 o'clock pandaenda kumba ndasvikira bankuru vangu vachigeza. Bankuru vabva kunogeza ndobva ndazvenga vandibata ndati kubankuruka zvaita sei. Vakanditanga kundibata mazamu vachindibata mumapatsa angu. Pavakandibata ndobva ndarasa pamubhedhi vakandidzvinya makumbo handarazokwanisa ndapera simba ndobva vandipisa bhurugwa ndobva vandirepa.
As a result of the sexual abuse, she fell pregnant and is expected to deliver in November 2016. Tatenda's story is similar to that of many other young women and adolescent girls in Zimbabwe who face traumatic experiences as a result of sexual abuse. In this country, prevalence of all forms of violence against women, especially physical and sexual violence, continues to increase despite the country's relatively strong gender-based violence legal framework. Violence against women and girls is one of the most prevalent human rights violations in the nation. It knows no social, economic, or cultural boundaries. Tatenda found hope through the Ensuring the Rights of Adolescent Girls and Women Survivors of Gender-Based Violence project, which assisted her and her family to seek legal recourse against the perpetrator. Funded by UN Women, the project seeks to mitigate the effects of gender-based violence on adolescent girls and young women by the continued support of comprehensive survivor-sensitive legal services in Beitbridge, Bindura and Makoni districts in Zimbabwe. Justice for Children is working together with Women and Law in Southern Africa, WILSA, and Zimbabwe Women Lawyers Association, ZWALA, in implementing the project.
UN Women has been working with these partners addressing both the prevention of gender-based violence amongst adolescent girls and young women, as well as providing services for victims of gender-based violence.
As the three organizations, we came together really to look at gender-based violence from a different perspective. It was really also geared towards engaging with community structures that have got power, so to speak, in the communities. The project also involved the communities themselves, where we then built the capacity of communities to actually identify cases of gender-based violence and assist victims by referring them to entities where they could also get help. We also integrated what we call the women empowerment approach. This is an approach which seeks to empower community members to then seek redress whenever they are violated. We also integrated into the project mobile legal aid, where our lawyers would then go out in the communities and offer legal aid and services to victims of gender-based violence.
The major focus on the project has been on strengthening the multi-sectoral response strategy on the management of child sexual abuse in Zimbabwe. This has led to improved coordination among gender-based violence partners in the 3 districts.
Tatenda's case shows how the multi-sectoral approach can help kickstart the wheels of justice. When the matter came to Justice for Children, and after notifying the mother and seeking to ascertain the real age of the child, it was discovered that she was actually 13 when the offense occurred, and that some pressure had been brought to bear on her, resulting in her lying that she was 16 to protect the perpetrator, which was said because this was an 82-year-old against a 13-year-old. So you can look at the discrepancies. But when the case came to the multi-sectoral players, Justice for Children, Childline, the Department of Social Welfare, the Victim Friendly Unit teamed up and justice was served at the end of the day. Now we have a trial date. The matter is going into court on the 4th of October because the players really worked hard to assist the child with Justice for Children and Childline facilitating the acquisition of a birth certificate for the child.
In terms of the successes of this particular program, I must say when we started off, we didn't anticipate the kind of successes that we managed to get, but it has been phenomenal insofar as the work that the CSO partners we worked with in the 3 districts managed to reach out to over 5,000 young women and girls, providing services including legal aid, medical services, psychosocial support, as well as empowering young women and adolescent girls to know themselves, to know their bodies, as well as being able to effectively enforce their rights when they are violated in cases of gender-based violence.
This has been quite a successful approach to the problem of GBV, not only because we've had a part that has been missing all along, especially the legal part, where we had problems. We could offer all the other services that are required in the multi-sectorial approach, but when it came to giving clients legal assistance and assistance in terms of the judiciary services part, that's where we had problems.
The project has managed to come and ensure that the District Gender Council, which is the GBV coordination forum at district level, is looked into. Some value has been added. The technical capacity of the partners who are within the group is also enhanced. And to a certain extent, I believe we are demonstrating a promising practice in that regard.
Improved coordination has also enhanced services at the One-Stop Center in Makoni District.
The one-stop center a concept is whereby different service providers who are key in provision of services to survivors of violence are housed within one space so that their services are easily accessible to survivors. The service providers are housed at the One-Stop Center contributed at least 60% of the referrals of clients who came to Zwana seeking legal services.
Addressing and changing the attitudes of people on gender-based violence are critical ingredients to curb violence against women and girls. Changing attitudes involves building the capacity of local organizations and communities to respond to gender-based violence in the local context. This has resulted in the establishment of a network of community focal persons, also known as CFPs. Community focal persons are involved in provision of basic legal services, awareness raising and information dissemination on gender-based violence effects and services, referrals of gender-based violence survivors to service providers.
Tinobatsira kunyanya madzimai echidiki kuti vazive nyaya dzemitemo. Mitemo inobata mhuri yakafanana ne-Maintenance Act, Domestic Violence Act, Birth Registration, kuti vanozvifambisa sei kana vachida kuita nyaya dze-maintenance. Nokuti takatarisa madzimai echidiki ndo vanonyanyosiyana nevarume kwatinoti kuye kurambana. Saka tinozovabatsira kuti kana wasiyana nemurume unogona kuchengeta mwana wako asi uchiapply maintenance nemurume asi kugara nemwana. Saka tinovabatsira kufila mapepa iwayo e-maintenance aya tovarifeyawo kukoti kuti vabatsirwe.
Tinonyabatsira vanhu nekuvadzidzisa nezvemutemo. Zvikuru mumisangano tinovarayirira kuti waregere kuramba vachitambudzika nekuti tinozviisa kunani matambudziko avanenge vasangana nawo.
Khawisa information khavatu rikova rina maposters anokova omwaliwa zvinokoerana naposta unero mwana uri mini imodzowana yemwana upi mwana atendere kumwaliwa apasa 18 years. So maposta anera kwamba andi mapepa anokova omwaliwa ana mipicture yofanekisiwawo kana yevatu vaurane vachiita gender based violence sikosimbedzisa uri havandi vabhebhi nedi vanoko diyani vanokuita ma-physical abuse, ma-emotional abuse.
Pamapoka tinoshandidzana nawo tinoshanda ne-victim friendly unit ne-child line. Victim friendly unit tinobatsirana panhau yekuti kana vana vachinge vaabhuswa tinorifya macases edu ikoko. Then tinoshanda ne-child line kuti kana zvatenge tisinawo isusu ivo vanogona kutibatsirawo. Uyezve tinoshanda ne-court kwatinorifyawo vana vanenge vaabhuswa. Kushanda nemapato akasiyana-siyana kunotibatsira nokuti victim friendly unit inenge ichirifya macases kuhospital. Toshandidzana nehospital inotitarisira vana vanenge vaabviswa veve vabatwa chibharo votibatsira kurapa vana ivavo. Then torifeya vana social welfare uko kwanozotsvagira vana ava pekugara. Kana achinge abviswa nehama anotsvagirwa safe place yekuti mwana iye akwanise asashungurudzwe nehama.
Pane zvinhu zvashanduka zvati wandei munharaunda matinoshandira. Vana vazhinji vakuziva kodzero dzavo. Takuona vana vazhinji havachakasiri kuroorwa kana kuti vabereki havachakasiri kurodza vana. Mashandukazve kuti ana mai vazhinji vakanga vasingakwanise kuenda kunomangara maintenance vakugona kuenda nekuda kwekuti takavaudza maendero nezvazvanofanira kunge vachiita nemafiriro avanoita maintenance form. Uyezve kana kushungurudzana zveGBV izvi zvazvishoma nekuda kwekuti vakuzviziva.
Maruwa muno matambudziko akadai ari kuwanika zvakanyanya, asi nekuda kwekuvandudzwa kuri kuramba kuchiitika zviri kuita zvichikamuka zvishoma nezvishoma, asi zvaaparinani nekuti dzidziso yakuramba ichikura kuvanhu.
Changing the attitudes on gender-based violence also means empowering women and girls through the provision of quality education, proper health, and improved livelihoods opportunities. This means supporting women and adolescent girls to speak up for their rights. This has resulted in the establishment of empowerment circles in the 3 districts.
Ma-empowerment circle aya madariro kana kuti ma-rounds evanhu vaviri kana kuti vatatu vanodarika vaviri vanenge vakaungana vachisimbiswa zvekare panyaya dzemutemo. Saka vanhu ivavo kana vachinge vasimbiswa vane role yakakura kana basa rakakura mucommunity, ndo vanenge vakuzogoverana nevamwe vese vemunharaunda.
Girls of Quality is one of the empowerment circles that have been formed in Bindura district.
Justice for Children yakatidzidzisa nezve-empowerment circle yakakwanisa kutibatsira semunharaunda yedu. Munharaunda yedu yatanga tiri maitika zve-violence, vanhu vairwisana zvakanyanyisa nezvema-early child marriages, vana vairorwa vachiri vadiki. Tadzidziswa kudaro takakwanisa kufoma group ranga rine vanhu 5 mugroup medu. Takaita project yedu yemaquills. Zvatiri kukwanisa kuwanawo kwazviri, tiri kukwanisa kuwana mazai atiri kutengesera vanhu vatigere navo munharaunda yedu. Pamwedzi tinogona kutengesa mazai $70. Project iyi yatibatsira zvakanyanyisa isusu pakuderedza mhirizhonga munharaunda yatiri, nekuda kwekuti takaona kuti chainyanyisa kukonzeresa mhirizhonga yange iri nyaya yekushayikwa kwemari.
The activities of the empowerment circles have had a positive impact on the communities. For 28-year-old Rumbidzai Chari from Bindura's Ward 7, all hope had been lost when her 13-year-old daughter ran away from home to get married to a 21-year-old man. Through the awareness and education on gender-based violence, which she received from an empowerment circle, she was able to bring her daughter back home and pursue legal action against the perpetrator.
Taipinda musangano tichidzidziswa pamusoro pekuchengetedzwa kwevana, kuti vana vangachengetedzwe sei, mhirizhonga ingapere sei mudzimba. Ndo pandakatanga kuvhurika kuti mwana anofanira kudzokera kuchikoro nekuti achiri under age, makore ake chaiyo haasati akore kuti angaite early marriage.
Traditional leaders are influential among their communities and wield a lot of respect and command. Realizing this, the project trained the traditional leaders on the laws on gender-based violence, what these laws provide in terms of their jurisdiction, and how they can use the existing laws to enhance the lives of survivors. Some of these laws include the Constitution, the Customary Law and Local Courts Act, and the Domestic Violence Act.
Takatrainwa neproject iyi kuti kana tasangana nematambudziko iwayo yakaita semhirizhonga, nyaya idzodzo totanga kuenda kupi nadzo, tichizoitora tichisvitsa papi, tichibatsira vanhu ivavo. Kana zvichiita tichivaita counseling zvakare kuti vagare zvakanaka kana vari vana vachengetedzwe mune zvakanaka.
The case of 17-year-old Nomusa from the border town of Beitbridge in Matabeleland South presents a situation where there are conflicting pieces of legislation in the gender-based violence chain. Rayson Rushwaya, who is in his late 20s, targeted young girls aged 16 to 18 years, luring them into sexual activities. Nomusa is one of the victims. She got pregnant and now has a child.
Zvakaitika ndezvekuti ndakatanga kudana nemukomana ndine 17 years iye ane 25 years. Takazoenda kupolice then ndopatakazonosangana nevewilsa nevefst. Tikazopa akabatwa takaenda kucourt tikatosvika tikanzi hapana nyaya tikadzokera. But even though kwakwanzi hapana nyaya vewilsa vakangoramba vachingodhiga information kusvika vazosvika vakumubata nenyaya yekidnap because aitora vana asina kutenderana nevabereki.
Wilsa worked with other stakeholders such as the Beitbridge Police Victim Friendly Unit, VFU, Family Support Trust, Ministry of Women's Affairs, Gender and Community Development, and other government departments towards the prosecution of the perpetrator. Rushwaya was finally charged with 2 counts under Section 93, Subsection 1B, Subsection 2 of the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act, Chapter 9.23, which makes it an offence for any person who is not a lawful custodian to a child to detain or keep the child, intending to deprive the child's lawful custodian of his or her control over the child. That person shall be guilty of kidnapping or unlawful detention. Rushwaya was eventually sentenced to 4 years imprisonment, of which 2 years were suspended on condition that he does not commit a similar offence in the next 5 years.
There is a gap now which needs alignment of the laws with the current constitution to move the age of consent from 16 to 18 so that the cases like that one of Rayson can be kept by the law.
Key messages and lessons have emerged in the implementation of the project. Communities are eager to participate in development issues concerning their areas. This is more so when their traditional leaders and government officials are involved in the projects. The traditional leaders involved in the projects showed that it is possible to work with them as change agents who will work to prevent gender-based violence and ensure services to the survivors. Traditional leaders were key in engaging men and boys in raising awareness and mitigation of gender-based violence. The project showed that the involvement of community volunteers such as community focal persons is critical and effective in reaching out to communities with information of child protection and prevention of gender-based violence, as well as the protection of survivors. There is need to tackle the root causes of child marriages and support the victims through provision of services such as counseling, legal aid, and education. There is need to establish more safe shelters in all the 3 districts and enhance comprehensive service provision.
We want to strengthen the empowerment circles approach because we have seen it work where adolescent women and young girls, since they are very, very vulnerable and because of their age, they might not be very, very free or confident to use the law to their advantage. So we would really also then want to integrate that. We also see the future in service provision, and our strength as the 3 organizations is in legal services. So we would really want to strengthen the legal services where we continue with the mobile legal aid. And fortunately for us as the 3 organizations, we signed an MOU with the Judicial Service Commission, which allows us to run help desks at various courts in Zimbabwe. So we would really want ideally to have a help desk at each and every court so that those who face gender-based violence can actually come to the help desks and be assisted. We would also want to see a strengthening of the multi-sectoral approach where we engage with other stakeholders, because GBV is not only a legal problem, it's not only a social problem. It has got so many faces to it. Then we would also want to see the alignment of laws to the new constitution. As far as child marriages are concerned, despite a progressive constitutional court judgment, we still have cases of child marriages are taking place. And again, the challenge is that the laws have not yet been aligned to the new constitution. So we would really also want to see this process being taken to its logical conclusion where all the marriage laws and all the other laws that allow child marriages are either repealed totally or amended to ensure that the law then protects our children from these child marriages.
Overall, the project has made strides in increasing awareness of gender-responsive laws and services, the provision of healthcare, psychosocial support, and legal aid to survivors of gender-based violence prevention through community mobilization, and supporting gender-based violence referral and coordination mechanisms at community, district, and national levels. Eradicating gender-based violence will take intensive efforts at all levels from all sectors and from within communities. For the survivors of gender-based violence, the project has brought a renewed sense of hope for a better tomorrow.
I would like to thank UN Women for giving us the financial resources to be able to implement this project. But more importantly, the support that we have received from UN Women is tremendous in terms of evaluation, in terms of even capacity building, in terms of even monitoring of the project.